My name is Alex, and I never thought I would be the type of person to fall in love with another boy. Growing up, I was always into girls, just like all of my friends. But then I met Max, and everything changed. Max was a new student at our school, and he was different from anyone I'd ever met. He was confident, outgoing, and had a sense of humor that could make anyone laugh. I was drawn to him right away, and we quickly became friends. But then I started to notice that my feelings for Max were more than just friendship. I would get butterflies in my stomach whenever he was around, and I couldn't stop thinking about him. I tried to ignore these feelings, but they only grew stronger over time. Eventually, I had to admit to myself that I was in love with Max. It was a scary realization, and I didn't know what to do. I had always been taught that being gay was wrong, and I didn't want to be rejected by my friends and family. I tried to push my feelings aside and date girls like everyone else, but it just felt wrong. I knew that I couldn't ignore my true feelings forever, and I didn't want to live a lie. One day, I decided to confide in Max about my feelings. I was nervous, but I knew that I had to be honest with him. To my surprise, Max was understanding and supportive. He told me that he had been in the same situation before, and that he knew how hard it could be. From that moment on, Max and I started dating in secret. We would meet up after school or on weekends and spend time together. It was amazing to finally be able to be myself around someone and not have to hide who I really was. But our happiness was short-lived. Word got out at school about our relationship, and suddenly we were the talk of the town. People started to whisper and gossip behind our backs, and some of my friends started to distance themselves from me. I felt isolated and alone, and I didn't know who I could turn to for support. Max was the only one who understood what I was going through, but even he was struggling with the backlash from our relationship. Things came to a head when we were both attacked after school by a group of boys who didn't agree with our relationship. We were both badly beaten, and it was a wake-up call for me. I realized that I couldn't keep living in fear and that I needed to stand up for myself and for Max. After the attack, Max and I were both traumatized. We had never experienced anything like that before, and the fear and pain we felt were overwhelming. Max was badly hurt, and we rushed him to the hospital as soon as we could. At the hospital, the doctors told us that Max had several broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and a concussion. They said that he would need to stay in the hospital for a few days to recover, and that he would be in a lot of pain. I stayed by Max's side throughout his stay in the hospital. I was scared for him and worried about his recovery, but I knew that I had to be strong for him. Seeing him in so much pain was heartbreaking, but I was determined to be there for him no matter what. During his stay, Max was in and out of consciousness. He was on a lot of pain medication, and he would sometimes drift off to sleep for hours at a time. When he was awake, he would often cry and ask why this had happened to us. I did my best to comfort him and reassure him that everything would be okay. I held his hand and told him that I loved him and that we would get through this together. It was tough seeing him like this, but I knew that I had to be strong for him. As the days went by, Max's condition slowly improved. He was able to eat and drink on his own, and his pain started to lessen. He was still in a lot of discomfort, but he was starting to feel more like himself again. During this time, I made sure to stay in touch with our friends and family. I wanted to keep them updated on Max's condition and let them know how much we appreciated their support. I also reached out to a local LGBTQ support group for advice and guidance on how to handle the aftermath of the attack. As Max's release date approached, I started to feel anxious. I was worried about how he would cope once he left the hospital and how we would both deal with the trauma of the attack, but I knew that we had to take things one day at a time and that we would get through it together. When Max was finally released from the hospital, I drove him home and helped him settle in. We had to make some adjustments to our home to accommodate his injuries, but we were determined to make things work. Over the next few weeks, Max and I focused on his recovery. We went to physical therapy together, and I helped him with his daily activities. I also encouraged him to talk to a therapist about his trauma, and I went to a few sessions with him to show my support. When Max was finally on the road to recovery, we received some unexpected news from his parents. They had decided to sell their home and move to a new town, and they wanted Max to come with them. At first, Max was hesitant about the move. He had built a life in our current town, and he wasn't sure if he was ready to start over in a new place. But as we talked more about it, we both realized that this move might be for the best. We had been living in a neighborhood that was not particularly LGBTQ friendly, and the attack we had suffered had only reinforced our fears about living there. Max's parents' decision to move to a safer area was a relief for both of us, and we knew that it was a good decision for Max's safety. Max's parents were also eager to have him closer to them. They had been worried about his safety and well-being after the attack, and they wanted to make sure that he was okay. Moving to a new town together would give them the opportunity to support Max and help him rebuild his life. For Max and me, the move meant that we would have to adjust to a new routine. We had to find new doctors, therapists, and support groups in the area. We also had to make new friends and build a community in our new town. Although we have settled into our new town and built a strong support system, Max still struggles with the trauma from the attack. Despite the passage of time, he still has nightmares and struggles with anxiety and fear. He is easily triggered by loud noises or unexpected movements and sometimes avoids going out in public spaces. Max, a therapist, has been working with him to process the trauma and develop coping mechanisms. We also attend a support group for survivors of hate crimes, which has been helpful in providing a sense of community and understanding. As Max's partner, it has been difficult to see him continue to struggle with the aftermath of the attack. I wish I could take away his pain and make everything better. But I know healing takes time and patience. We have had to adjust our daily routines to accommodate Max's triggers and fears. We avoid crowded places and loud events and try to create a safe and comforting environment at home. We also make sure to check in with each other regularly and talk about our feelings and concerns. Life with Max is not always easy, but I love him more than anything in this world. I have seen him at his weakest and his strongest, and I admire him for his resilience and his bravery. Living with someone who has experienced trauma can be challenging. Max's triggers and fears are a constant presence in our lives, and we have had to make adjustments to accommodate them. There are times when I feel overwhelmed or frustrated, but I try to remind myself that Max is doing the best he can and that his recovery is a priority. I have also learned that loving someone means accepting their imperfections and supporting them through their struggles. Max may never fully overcome the trauma he has experienced, but I am committed to being there for him no matter what. Our relationship has been strengthened by the challenges we have faced together. We have learned to communicate openly and honestly, to support each other through difficult times, and to cherish the moments of joy and happiness that we share. Life with Max may not be easy, but it is worth every moment. I love him more than words can express, and I will continue to stand by his side no matter what the future holds. One of the things I love most about being with Max is the way our hands fit together. Whenever we hold hands, it's like our fingers were made to intertwine perfectly, as if they were meant to be together all along. I cherish those moments when our hands come together, whether it's a quick squeeze of the hand as we pass each other, or a longer, more intimate clasp as we share a moment of closeness. There's something incredibly comforting and reassuring about holding hands with Max. It's like a physical reminder of the bond that we share, and a symbol of the love and affection that we feel for each other. Sometimes, when we're out walking or sitting together, Max will reach for my hand without even thinking about it. And in that moment, I feel a rush of warmth and happiness, knowing that he wants to be close to me and share this intimate gesture. In those moments, I feel like we're the only two people in the world, and nothing else matters. It's a beautiful, peaceful feeling, and one that I treasure deeply. I love the way Max's hand feels in mine, strong and sure, yet also gentle and loving. I could hold his hand forever and never tire of the feeling of connection and closeness that it brings. For me, holding hands with Max is more than just a physical gesture. It's a symbol of the deep love and respect that we have for each other, and a reminder of the special bond that we share.